Hello and welcome everyone. I am Drew Englander, a senior studying political science at Loyola University Chicago. Today I am pleased to introduce Ankie Spitzer, who is the widow of Israeli Olympian fencing coach Andre Spitzer. Andre was tragically killed at the hands of the terrorist organization Black September at the Munich massacre. Today we have the honor of speaking to Ankie about her life, her husband, and her fight for justice and reparations over the past 40 years. Thank you, Anki, for your time today. Tell me a little about your upbringing, where you're from, a little bit just about you.
Okay, I was born in Holland, and I lived in Holland till I was 25. And then I met Andre. He was my fencing coach in Holland. He came from Israel, but they sent him to Holland in order to become a better national coach. And that's how I met him. And that was the best part of my life, that I met him there. We stayed for a little bit in Holland, and then he had to return to Israel because he promised that with his new skills after 2 years in Holland, he would come back to Israel and then take over the national team. So I went with him.
Now, many students may not know about what happened in Munich in 1972. Can you walk us through what happened and kind of your experiences on those 2 days?
Well, that same very night, Andre should have been the only one who should have missed the whole massacre, because we were, first of all, we were not staying in the Olympic Village. Secondly, we went 2 days before the massacre. We went to Holland to see the baby because my parents said that she was crying 24 hours a day. And so we went to see her. And he came back on the morning, and he said, Ankie, I'm going to call you tonight when I get back to the Olympic Village, and I'm going to look what my room looks like, because we were spending all our time at the Olympics in this small little hotel, this little hotel room. So I waited, and really at midnight that same day, it was like 11 hours train ride. He called me and he said, Ankie, I'm here, I'm back at the village. And I said, and how is everybody? He said, well, nobody's here yet because they went to a performance of Fiddler on the Roof, but I heard that they will come back soon. So I will see everybody and I will call you tomorrow, because in a few days we are going to finish the Olympics and we are going to go back to Israel. And I want to get back to Israel before you, so I can help you with the baby when you come in a different flight from Amsterdam. So I went to sleep and I said, oh, great that he got there. 7 o'clock in the morning, I was at the house of my parents in Holland. My father came to my bedroom and he said, Ankie, how many people are there in the Israeli Olympic team? And I just opened my eyes and I said, well, I don't know, 20, 25 maybe, I don't know. And he said, and who is the boxing coach? And I said, there is no boxing coach because Israel did not send any boxers. And I said, why are you asking me this at 7 o'clock in the morning? And he said, well, you should know that there was an attack, a terror attack on the Olympic Village. And I said, and what happened to the boxing coach? And he said, they already shot him and they put his body outside of the building. So then I just raced out of my bed because I knew there was no boxing coach, but maybe it was the fencing coach. Maybe it was Andre. So the Israeli embassy in Holland, and I said, when you're looking for me to tell me something, I'm here in Holland, and I'm going to go straight back to Munich, where I just came from 2 days ago. And they said, do not go back to Munich. We are sending security people to the house of your parents. We already send them to the hospital where your baby is. I said, how do you know? And they said, don't ask how we know, but don't go there, because there are tens of thousands of people standing in front of the gates. They all want to go in, but because of the attack, that nobody can go in. And it was not the time then that people had iPhones or mobile phones or cell phones, nothing. So he said, we won't be able to be in touch with you, and stay there and we keep you posted. And we don't even know if Andre is among the hostages. What happened was that later I heard from those that survived that Andre was there, and then all the people came back from the Fiddler on the Roof performance, and they were sitting around and talking, and he was telling how it was in Holland with the baby and so on. And then at 2 o'clock at night, they went all to sleep. Everybody went to sleep. And there were 5 different apartments, one next to the other. Everybody went to his own apartment, and there they went to sleep. 2 hours later, at 4 o'clock in the morning, 8 terrorists from this Black September group, they jumped the fence and they came into the Olympic Village. They knew exactly where the Israelis were located, and they um, they saw this. Not it was the wrestling coach who was killed. They saw him outside. He came outside. They shot him in the face, and they asked him to show where all the Israelis are. And he knew that in the third apartment were all the strong guys, the weightlifters, the wrestlers, and so on. So he took them to the third apartment, and they went in. And even though that these people were very strong people, they were sleeping in their underwear in the beds when these 8 terrorists with Kalashnikov automatic guns, with grenades and everything, they overpowered them, and they all brought them to the first apartment where Andre was sleeping. All the coaches and the referees were in the first apartment, and then they held them hostage. They kept them. They tied them to the legs of the table and to the bed, and they were all in Andre's bedroom, and they were sitting there, and and 8 terrorists, they were keeping them under shot. And um, later on the day that we heard, there were shots were heard, so they killed another one inside the building because he tried to grab an automatic weapon from one of the terrorists, and they shot him. They also castrated him in front of his friends. They broke the bones of several of the athletes who were sitting there, and they just kept them there till around 10:30 at night. The terrorists then demanded that they would be taken out together with the hostages. There were 9 hostages at that point. 2 were already killed. If they wanted to go out of Germany, they wanted to go to Egypt, and they wanted to take the hostages with them. And the German authorities, who were totally unprepared, had no clue what to do or how to do it, they agreed, and they let them fly out to a small airport, small military airport just outside of Munich. And at, already in the morning, when we knew that all these guys were taken hostage, the Israeli security services with an elite unit, they were at the airport in Israel, and they wanted to immediately fly to Germany in order to help, because they had a lot more experience, and the Germans had no clue what to do. But the Germans refused. They said, no, no, no. It's we are bosses on our own sovereign soil, and we don't let anybody come in. The only one who did fly was the head of the Mossad, of the Israeli security service, and an assistant. They did fly, but they totally did not let them participate in any of the decisions. When he asked, what is your plan? They all looked, and they said, well, we don't know. So at the end, to make a long story short, they they put 5 snipers at the airport because they had no clue. They thought there were only 5 terrorists. Only at the airport, when they arrived with the hostages, then they saw there were 8 terrorists, and these snipers couldn't do anything. But at one point, one of them started shooting, and then the terrorists started shooting back. They threw one grenade in one of the helicopters where they arrived with, and all the other hostages in the second, and so they all burned to death, and all the other hostages were shot at point zero range, and they were all killed. So all the 9 Israelis were killed at the airport, and 2 were killed at the Olympic Village. And then the really, the surrealistic part started, because you saw it on TV, it was live on TV. I saw them going in helicopters, flying to this military airport, and then at midnight, and then we heard explosions, and we heard shooting on TV, and then at midnight, the official spokesman of the German government came on, and he said it was a very difficult day. But we have good news. All the Israelis were saved and all the terrorists were killed. So, in my house, my father opened a big bottle of champagne and he said, I cannot believe it after so much time and so on. And I said, no, I'm not taking any champagne because I know the first thing that Andre will do, in what kind of state he is in, he will call me and we'll talk. And until he talks, I cannot believe that this is true because we heard the shooting. We saw the explosions of one of these helicopters. How can it be true? And then at 3 o'clock, 3:15 in the morning, we heard the anchor of the ABC, Jim McKay, and he said, this morning there were 9 hostages, 11 Israeli athletes, 2 were killed in the Olympic Village, 9 were killed at the airport. They are all gone. And I heard that, so I called the Olympic Village and I spoke to the people, to the head of the delegation of Israel, and I said, I just heard this on TV. Is this true? And he said, Ankie, this is true. They're all gone. And when I got back to Munich, I went into the room and I saw what happened there. Of course, the chaos in that room, in Andre's room, where they were held hostage, where they killed in front of his teammates, Yossi Romano, one of the wrestlers, and where they were held, they brought them food, which nobody ate. There was blood all over because of the shots. Part of the wall fell into the room. They didn't let them go to the bathroom. It was such a, and I stood there and I said to myself, if this is what people can do to each other, I will not shut up and I will not wait until justice has been done, because this cannot be that people in the Olympic Village, the symbol of brotherhood and peace, that they kill people in this way. And I will never shut up till the end of times. And I will tell the story, not because it is my story, but because to warn the people that and tell them that we should do everything in our power that this will never happen again. And that's what I've been doing in the past 48 years.
And we have millions of students that'll be watching this. If there's one thing you could say to them, what would that be?
If you believe in something, never give up. If you have a just cause and you believe in the cause, do not let people distract you and go for it. It might take a lot of time and that might not go exactly the way you want it, but don't give up. Never give up.
Thank you so much for your time today and that amazing story. It was really great to hear.
Thanks so much, Drew. Thank you a lot.